Hello everyone and welcome to ConfigMas 2024 and the Deployment Research YouTube channel. My name is Johan Arvidmark, and in this session I will show you how you can troubleshoot the ConfigMgr PXE responder using Wireshark. And that means, of course, demo time. This session is a follow-up to a session I did 2 years ago, that time focusing on using PowerShell to troubleshoot PXE. But today we're going to use Wireshark instead. For those of you that are new to Wireshark, it's simply a great free utility that allows you to capture network traffic. Because, just to give you a little bit of a background, when you have a distributed environment, so multiple distribution points, multiple VLANs where you have clients, multiple networks, routers, all that good stuff, the client needs to be able to find the PXE server. And you do that either through the HTTP scope options or by configuring IP helpers on the switches. I happen to like the latter one the best. It's a more simple configuration. But both of them are supported, both of them will work, etc. But the thing is, when you have a trouble with PXE, just for the record, most times it is not your fault. It's usually something that the network team misconfigured or forgot to configure on the network, but it often finds itself to you to actually figure out that part and then ask them to fix the configuration. Obviously, you need to see to your own house first. So on the ConfigMgr server, I jump over to that one. You need to make sure that PXE is configured. I happen to like the new responder, so I like that one. So I'm using this one here, which is the WDS-less responder. And that means there is a service that needs to be running on the distribution point. So if I go to that DP, and check services, you need to make sure that that responder is running. You also need to make sure that your boot images in ConfigMgr, or at least the boot image you want to use, like this one here, if I go to properties on that one, that it's in effect configured to be used for PXE. It also needs to be distributed. I've lost count the number of times I have troubleshooting with PXE and it turned out the boot image was simply not available. So it needs to be on your distribution point as well. And of course the sequence or sequences that you wanted to deploy, like this one here, they must be configured to use that boot image. But let's assume you have done all that part and you just want to figure out how it looks from the network side. So if you have a network like this, a very simple way to verify PXE from the networking side is to pick a machine that is wired connected on that network, so no Wi-Fi, wired Ethernet, and you install Hyper-V on it. And then you install Windows on a Hyper-V on that machine. Because in Hyper-V, if I go to here, let me go over to one of my VMs. This one, you have the option when you're connecting it to a switch, you can say that I would like to use port mirroring, and I can configure this one as a destination. That means that this port or this VM receives a copy of all the traffic that another client is sending to it. So what I also create is a blank VM, a VM that has nothing on it. And this one, I configure to use the same network, but also port mirroring being the source. So that means when I power on this virtual machine, it will send a copy of all this communication to my machine where I'm running Wireshark. So if I go over to my Netmon VM, this one here on Netmon01, you can see I have installed a recent version of Wireshark. And if I launch Wireshark, I can put in a display filter and then start a trace. So now if I power on the empty VM, I will be able to follow that communication on the other VM running Wireshark. And now the PXE part finished. I can stop this one. The boot image will be downloaded at this point, but that's not the interesting part. The interesting part is that initial communication, because when you have misconfigured IP helpers, when you have misconfigured scope options, that's where it fails. So now I see the traffic, and there are two particular interesting options here. You need to see at least two different offers. One offer that will show the client or give the client an IP address. This offer is coming from a DHCP server running on this IP address here, called next server here. But we also get a different offer from another server without an IP address. This is something else, and this happens to be the PXE responder. So if I continue down the list here in my packages with this filter, you can see that the client is now requesting the IP address it was given. But if I continue to scroll down here, I will also start to see some other information that is interesting. For example, here, there is information about a boot file to boot from. And this is the stuff you're looking for. If the client cannot see this information, how is the client supposed to know where to go? So this is how you can leverage Wireshark to see what's going on. So you can have a working trace, you can compare it with a failing trace, and you can see basically what is missing. And that usually helps you figure out, okay, why is the client not finding the right information? That's all for now. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you again for another episode. Bye for now.